Well, I think it's the most important development initiative which is taking place in the world because it fits into the general trend which is going on in the world and China's specific ability to play a role in it. The general trend is the so-called global south economies, that is, the developing economies, are growing significantly more rapidly than are the advanced capitalist economies. So the first overall global trend is the development which is taking place of the global south. Right, then within that, of course, China is the most important or largest developing economy within the global south, and it has certain very great advantages that it can bring to this situation. One is it has a very rapidly growing economy. Secondly, it has the world's most efficient now infrastructure companies because it's got more experience in developing infrastructure than anybody else. Third, it's got very large foreign exchange reserves, which it can deploy outside of China to aid with things. And therefore, this gives a new model of the way that the economy can develop. China obviously supports openness and supports reduction in tariffs. The obstacle in tariffs is not coming from China at the moment, it's coming from the United States, which has been increasing tariffs. If you look at what is the general trend in the world economy, which is the global south growing much more rapidly than the global north, and you look at the specific things which China can bring to the party, this makes it the most important development initiative going on in the world. This is a completely stupid policy viewed by the United States. I mean, China hasn't set out to attack the United States. I don't notice any aggressive actions taken by China against the United States, whereas I see lots of aggressive economic actions taken by the United States against China. I mean, tariffs. China didn't introduce tariffs against the United States, but the Trump administration introduced tariffs against China. And unfortunately, the Biden administration hasn't got rid of them. Now, this is very costly for American households. The United States is attempting to ban exports of chips to China. Well, this is doing damage to all sorts of chips companies around the world, and the American business is not very much in favor of it because China is one of the largest markets in the world for chips because it's the world's largest manufacturing center. So that's very logical. And I didn't notice China initiated any steps against the United States. So the idea that China is carrying out aggression against the United States just won't stand up. As regards the Belt and Road Initiative, this is just a logical policy for China. It wants to involve itself with global south economies. It wants to be part of the fact that the global south is growing more rapidly than the advanced economies. That's logical. I mean, any logical company wants to get into the most rapidly growing part of the market, not into more stagnant parts of the market. So this is just a win-win situation for China and the win-win and for the global south. That is, China's benefiting from the more rapid expansion of the global south economies, and the global south economies are gaining from the fact that China is the most rapidly growing major economy in the world. This is just win-win. It's got nothing to do with opposing the United States. I think this is one of the most stupid economic arguments I've ever heard. If you take the development of any company, no company finances all its investment out of its cash flow. It can't do so. If they did, every company would remain tiny. Companies have a logical policy. That is, they borrow money, and their calculation is that the expansion of production that they get from this investment will yield a higher return than the interest rate at which they borrowed the money. This is how every single major company in the world operates. If the United States went out and proposed to every country in the world, to the US, right, all US companies, you mustn't have debt, you've got to stop borrowing, the US economy would be wrecked. And any CEO of an American company would laugh at such a proposal. If a company borrows money and then to invest in a project and then the project yields less than the interest, then that was a bad decision. But it wasn't a bad decision because it's in principle you shouldn't borrow money. It was a bad decision because you selected the wrong project to invest in. So this is an absolutely ridiculous type of argument. Also, the US doesn't even apply it itself. The US has never opposed the IMF lending money. It's never opposed the World Bank lending money. what is it doing about American banks? Is it saying to American banks, it's all very dangerous, all this lending you're taking place? You've got to stop. American banks should stop lending. This is absolutely ridiculous. One of the most stupid arguments I've ever heard.